Okay, hi everybody. This is 5.6, solving radical equations. So you're gonna solve an equation with radicals. So here are the steps right here. Oh, I'm using the study guide because it has some problems that's already done. So, but the four basic steps are to isolate the radical first, and then to get rid of the radical, you raise each side of the equation by the power equivalent to the index. I'll show you that after you solve it. Then for this one, step 4, very important, you have to check your answer for extraneous roots or extraneous roots. It's the answers that doesn't work out when you plug it in. So this page right here, if you look at the study guides, it's already done and it has the steps. I'll just do the extra examples on the next page. It's quite a few, so hopefully you'll all understand how to do it. So example 1, 2 times the square root of 3x plus 4 plus 1 equals 15. So step 1 is to isolate the radical, this right here. You have to get this by itself. So that means we have to get rid, sorry, it was too loud. We have to get rid of 1 and 2. So again, you undo the opposite of order of operation. So we have to get rid of the 1 first. So opposite of plus 1 is minus 1. So that becomes 2 square root of 3x plus 4 equals 14. So we minus 1. And then again, isolate the radical. So we still have a 2 on the outside. This is times, next to each other is times. So opposite of times is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. So we end up with 3x plus 4 equals 7. Now the radical is by itself. These two are inside. So they're together. So to get rid of the square root, again, this is square root. The index is this invisible 2 here. So if the index is 2, you need to square it because opposite of square root is squared. So we need to square both sides. So we'll have square root of 3x plus 4 squared equals 7 squared. So you'll get, so square and square root cancel. So you'll get 3x plus 4 equals 49. And now we isolate the x. So minus 4, so 3x equals 45. Divide by 3, x equals 9. Now we have to check that answer so that to make sure that it's not an extraneous root. So you check it, substitute into the original equation. So it's 2 times 3 times 9 plus 4 plus 1. Does it equal 15? You can just put this in your calculator, okay, just to save yourself time, but make sure you check it. So that's 3 times 9 is, wait, what was that? Yeah, 3 times 9 is 27. That's not 9. 45 divided by 3 is not 9, everybody. Sorry. Okay. See, I miss you guys. If you guys were here, you would be able to correct me. Okay, so what's that be 15? 15 times 3 is 45. 45 plus 4 is 49. Square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. So 15 is equals to 15. So that works out. So the answer is x equals 15. Number 1. Okay, number 2, same thing, but this time it's cube root. So the same process. Isolate the radical first. So we're gonna minus 8. This is plus 8, not times 8. Okay. So we minus 8 to both sides. So we have cube root of x plus 1 equals 6. Oh, I changed this problem so that the number is not so big. I've changed this to 4. Sorry. Okay. So 4 minus 8 is negative 4. And then we're gonna, now the radical is by itself, nothing is outside the radical. So now we're gonna raise it to the third because it's cube root. So opposite of cube root is cubed. So you take that, x plus 1, raise it to the third. What you do to the left, you must do to the right side. So then you're left with x plus 1. So again, cube and cube root cancel. So you have x plus 1 equals negative 4 to the third is negative 64. Okay, minus 1, minus 1. So x equals negative 65. Okay, now you check it. 8 plus cube root of negative 65 plus 1. Does it equal 4? So negative 65 plus 1 is negative 64. Cube root of negative 64 is negative 4. 8 plus negative 4. Does it equal 4? Yes, 4 equals 4. So that works out. So again, you can just put this in your calculator. You should get 4. So that works out too. Same process here. Again, isolate the radical. Take away 12. So 4 minus 12 is negative 8. Equals square root of 2x plus 1 or minus 1. Square both sides. Equals negative, oh sorry, show baby steps here. Oh, that negative should be inside the parentheses. Sorry, let me fix that. Okay, so that 64 equals 2x minus 1. Okay, and then again this cancels, so that's how you get to x minus 1. Then isolate the x plus 1. It's 65 equals 2x. Divided by 2, it's 30. What's that? 32 and a half. Okay, equals x. You substitute. Check. 4, does it equal, parenthesis, question mark, 2 times 32 and a half, 0.5, I'll just use 0.5, minus 1 plus 12. 4, question mark, 8. Sorry, I'm gonna just skip some baby steps here. 2 times 32 and a half is 65. Minus 1 is 64. Square root of 64 is 8. 8 plus 12 is 8 plus 12 is 20. So they're not equal. So 4 is not equal to 20. So this one, the answer is not 32 and a half. The answer is, this is an extraneous root, or extraneous root. So the answer is therefore, this is therefore, by the way, it's no solution. Answer is no solution. Okay, it's the first 3 simple ones. Then we got a little bit more complicated down here. Here, there's 2 radicals, so you work with one at a time. So you can work with the one on the right or the one on the left. So make sure there's nothing outside. There's nothing outside here. So we can get rid of this one by squaring both sides. There's nothing outside, so just square both sides. If you square this, you have to do what you did on the left to the right side. So that means the square and square roots cancels out, so you're left with 4 plus 7x on the left. On the right side, same thing happened on the right. 7x minus 9. Get the x by itself. 7x minus 7x, they cancel out. So that's 7x cancels. So you're you're left with 4 equals negative 9. Now, hopefully you remember this from Algebra 1. If there's no variable left, it's a special case. In this case, does 4 equal negative 9? Nope. If it's not equal, the answer should be no solution. If they are equal, the answer is all real numbers. Okay. No need to check because there's no answer. Number 4. You might be thinking, where's the radical? It's this one here. 1/3 is cube root. Don't forget, 1/3 is cube root. So you need to isolate this first. Okay, so that means we have to add 2. So 4. I'm going to rewrite it so you understand it. So instead of 1/3, I'm going to rewrite it as cube root of 2x plus 11. Just so that you can see it better. Minus 2, so plus 2 plus 2, so that's 12. Divide by 4. This is outside the radical. Divide by 4. So cube root of 2x plus 11 equals 12 divided by 4 is 3. Cube both sides. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna rewrite this. 2 plus 11 cubed equals 3 cubed. So again, cube roots and cube cancels. You're left with 2x plus 11 equals 27. And then isolate the x. Plus 11 plus 11. Not plus 11, sorry. Minus 11 minus 11. So that's 16. 2x equals 16. Therefore, x equals 8. The same thing, check your answer. 4 times 2, sorry. 2 times, what is that? 2 times 8 plus 11, raise it to the 1/3, minus 2, does it equal 10? Okay, let's just do this in our head. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 11 is 27. To the 1/3 means cube root. So what's cube root of 27? It's 3. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. 3 times 4 is 12. So 12 minus 2, does it equal 10? Yes, so 10 equals 10. So that works out. Okay. Number 6, again, 1/2 is square root. So this is the same thing as 9x minus 11 square root equals x plus 1. You square both sides. 9x minus squared equals x plus 1 squared. So you're left with 9x minus 11. FOIL x plus 1 squared. Hopefully you can do this in your head. X squared plus 2x plus 1. FOIL it. Okay. This is quadratic. So if it's quadratic, factoring. Move everything to one side. I'm going to move it to the right, so we're going to have a positive x squared. So make the left side 0. Move 9x minus 11 to the right. So x squared, 2x minus 9x, because we're moving it to the right side. So minus 9x plus 2x is minus 9 plus 2, minus 7. Then plus 11 plus 1 is plus 12. Again, quadratic factoring. So factor it. What do you multiply? The coefficient here is 1. So you're just asking, what do you multiply to get 12? That sums to negative 7. That's 4 and 3. Both negative, so you get negative 7. Therefore, x equals negative 4. Not negative 4, sorry. Positive 4. Remember the zero product property. So switch the sign. And positive 3. Again, then check it. So 9 times 4 minus 11 to the 1/2. Does it equal 4 plus 1? So 9 times 4 is 36. 36 minus 11 is 25. Square root of 25 is 5. 5 equals 5, so that's good. And then same thing here. Plug in a 3 this time. 9 times 3 minus 11 to the 1/2 equals 3 plus 1. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 minus 11 is 16. 16 square root. 1/2 is square root. 16 square roots is 4. 4, does it equal 4? Yes. Okay, so that's equations. Not done. There's a second page to this. Okay, the next one is inequalities. This one, it's almost the same, but there's an extra step you have to do. A couple of steps. First one first. Remember radicand? That's why we checked, by the way. That's why we checked. That's why we check our answers. Because if it's a negative number inside, and then it's no imaginary solution. It's an I. We don't want imaginary answers in this case. So what you need to remember is for inequalities, you have to find the restriction. The restriction is what makes we have to make the radicand bigger or equal to 0, or meaning cannot be none. It can only be positive numbers. So if it's a negative, it's not allowed. So first thing first, so we're gonna do the restriction first. Restriction. Okay, how do you do restriction? It's same, like I said, it's the radicand. It has to be bigger than or equal to 0 so that you don't have negative. So take your C minus 2. It has to be greater than or equal to 0. That's step 1. Therefore, C has to be greater than or equal to 2. Restriction. Now you take the same problem. Now you solve it. Then solve. Okay. C minus 2 square root plus 4 is greater than or equal to 7. Minus 4. So C minus 2 greater than or equal to 3. Square roots, not square roots, square both sides. So I'm going to write this down so you understand. So you're left with C minus 2 greater than or equal to 9. Okay, plus 2, sorry. Plus 2 to 9, it's C is greater than or equal to 11. Okay, now you have to take your two answers and think about it. According to this one, C has to be greater than 11 and C has to be greater than 2. So I'll give you 3 seconds to think about it. So what does that mean? Which numbers are allowed for C? What is the solution set for C? Has to be greater than or equal to 2 and greater than or equal to 11. So some of you can do it in your head. For those of you who can't, just draw a number line. You have 2 critical points at 2 and at 11. Sorry, I'm supposed to write 11 here. I don't know why. Okay. So here it's close, greater than, so to the right, correct? This one close also to the right. So which one do we want? We want where they overlap. This area right here. It has to be greater than 2 and greater than 11. That means it has to be greater than 11. Because if you only do it this way, it won't satisfy the second one if you go from 2 to positive infinity. So the final answer is C has to be greater than or equal to 11. You only want the intersection. Or again, interval notation, that's 11 to positive infinity. Inclusive of 11. Okay. Next one, number 8. Same thing, do the restriction first. 2x minus 1 has to be greater than or equal to 0, so that the radicand is positive. Okay. So that is 2x is greater than or equal to 1/2. Okay, that's the first part. Then you solve it. 3 square root of 2x. Oh, we're only doing square root, by the way, for inequalities. Okay, and then minus 6 first. 3 minus 6 minus 6. 15 minus 6 is 9. Divide by 3. So square root of 2x minus 1 is 3. Divide both sides by 3. Square both sides. So squared. 3 squared. So you get 2x minus 1 is less than 9. Plus 1, 2x is less than 10. X is less than, what is this? 5, right? Okay. So this one, it says, sorry, not, hopefully you guys got that. X equals 1/2, not 2x, because plus 1 divided by 2, 1/2. X has to be greater than or equal to 1/2, and x has to be less than 5. So let's think about that again. X is greater than or equal to 1/2, and x is less than 5. Which numbers are allowed? Again, if you don't understand, you can always graph it. This is not required if you understand it, okay? So according to this one, bigger than 1/2, inclusive. And then I'm just sketching a number line here. And then smaller than 5, not non-inclusive. So that means it's in between. So in between. So the answer is x has to be between 1/2 inclusive and 5, exclusive. Okay, or that's the same thing as 1/2 inclusive to 5 exclusive. Interval notation. Either way. Okay, one more. Last one. Well, I have one more. Okay, so the last one is 8 minus square root of 3x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 3. If you already know what to do, you can go and do your homework. If not, I have one more. Okay, so this one, negative. Oh, you should pay attention to this one because there's a negative here. Hopefully you remember what to do with a negative. I forgot to do the restriction first. Oh, see? Sorry. Okay, restriction first. 3x plus 4 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So therefore, 3x is greater than or equal to 4, negative 4. Okay, divide by 3, x is greater than or equal to negative 4/3 restriction. Okay, solve it. 8 minus square root of 3x plus 4 greater than or equal to 3 minus 8 minus 8 negative 3x plus 4 greater than or equal to 8. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Okay, remember, if you divide by a negative, everybody, there's a negative. You have to get rid of this negative here. If you divide by a negative both sides, or divide by a -1 both sides, you get the same thing, but the sign changes, and make sure you reverse your inequality. Okay, when you divide by a negative, reverse the inequality symbol. Okay, switch the signs, reverse the inequality. Okay, and then you square both sides. Okay, So we get 3x plus 4 less than or equal to 25 minus 4 is 21. Divide by 3 is 7. Okay. So then according to this one, bigger than negative 4/3 but smaller than 7. Bigger than negative 4/3 but smaller than 7. That's in between. If you graph it, just in case. So this is negative 4/3, which is negative 1 1/3. And here's, let's just say here's 7. This one is close to the right. This one is close to the left. Therefore, they overlapped over here. That's the overlapping area. So that means x is between negative 4/3 and 7. Or negative 4/3 to inclusive to 7 inclusive. Okay, hope you understood. Do all the problems. I'm gonna have you do all of it since you're only doing 2 sections a week. Okay, send me a message on Google Classroom if you have any questions. Okay, I'm gonna do 7.1 next.